Let's introduce this band of luminaries. Mr. Tom Brevoort, our Senior Vice President, Executive Editor. Woo. You know her, you love her, Miss Sana Amanat. Sana, there she is. Oh, yeah, great. She's always got to make an entrance. Woohoo! All right. And making his way here for the first time, Michele Bandini, where are you? Sir, where is he? There he is. Mr. Bandini. He was hyperventilating before. This is his first Marvel panel, so be kind and he'll take back rubs later, you know. Yeah, so, Mr. Donnie Cates, Donnie. Know me, love him, Mr. Ta-Nehisi Coates. Al Ewing, ladies and gentlemen. Al.
Hello. Hello.
By the way, for those of you who maybe have like champagne glasses or something, careful because Al's voice is so low they will crack in your hands. Okay, Mr. Nick, you'll see what I mean later. Mr. Nick Spencer.
My hair is gray now.
Mr. Jim Zub. By the way, the most fun name to say in comics, Jim Zub. All right, and you know me. I was going to delete the photograph, but I look so goddamn handsome there. I just wanted to show it. All right, let's get to it. Tom, talk. Avengers. No surrender.
Starting in 675 in January, we are eliminating all of the other Avengers.
Ooh, I'm sorry. Can I stop you for 1 second? Yeah. I forgot to thank one other. Just so you guys know, because I don't think it's said enough. There's volunteers that work the show all day long, and they're volunteers, and they kick ass, and they monitor these panels as well. So let's hear a round of applause for the volunteers too. All right, cool. Now.
So, Avengers No Surrender. Starting in January, all of the individual Avengers titles fold together into a single, massive 4-month, 16-part story that runs in Avengers. It'll come out weekly. It's co-written by Mark Waid, Jim Zub, and Al Ewing. The art, month by month, is by Pepe Larraz, Kim Jacinto, and Paco Medina. It's a big, earth-shattering threat that will push the Avengers to their limits. It's big, exciting superhero action. It's the biggest Avengers movie we could do on paper with an unlimited budget and no restrictions. It's kind of the Avengers disassembled of the current era, and I hope you all check it out and enjoy it.
Cool. All right. Here's some art. Sorry.
We got some pages there.
Got some pages. Yeah. Sorry, I got lazy. Fell asleep. All right. Yeah. Here's some more.
Covers.
Some covers.
That's the first month.
Awesome. Okay. And now, Captain America.
Captain America. Well, Nick.
Woo!
Thank you. Nick Spencer is done ruining Captain America for you all, so.
Thank you.
His job here is done.
His job is done. So Mark Waid and Chris Samney, coming off of their runs on Daredevil and Black Widow, are going to take over Cap at 695. It's pretty much the Cap people have been asking for. Steve Rogers back in the costume, looking for his place, finding his role in a now somewhat changed world. Being Cap, punching bad guys, being patriotic, roaming the country, doing Mark Waid stuff. It's good.
All right, Mr. Ewing, want to tell us a little bit about Royals?
The Royals. Okay, who likes giant Kirby cosmic action creatures? I'm expecting a few of you. I'd hate to think they'd fallen out of fashion already. Basically, this is where Royals has been building since the beginning. The structure of the book, we've been flying further and further outside the known Marvel universe. We're finally out in the space beyond the Marvel galaxy, beyond like Marvel space, physical Marvel space we know it, and we're going to be encountering an entirely new Marvel alien race. There's some beautiful art there from Javier Rodriguez. And yeah, there's stuff there. There's a couple of. You're getting a look there at. I mean, you all saw the World Farm. Who here have read Royals 9? I'm expecting at least a couple of you. Now, okay, what you're seeing there is what we introduced there, which is this thing called the World Farm, which is like orbiting habitrails of planets, like rings, like instead of a Dyson sphere, like around the sun, we're talking a Dyson solar system. An entire solar system's energy put to use. That's the level of power these guys are operating on. They've all got these really amazing, freaky designs, and the Royals are battered, bloodied, dying in some cases. Medusa is, if you get a look at her there, she's not her usual self. Flint's got something going on with him, if you take a look on the left there. You know, they're battered, they're beaten, they're dying. They have to fight not just gods, the gods of their gods. So, I mean, if you like great art, if you like the amazing coloring of Jody Belair, if you like the kind of giant cosmic action that I think I've earned a reputation for this now. Cool. I think you know I can do it now. If you like that, come join us. You will love it, I swear.
Cool. Don't stop talking, Al. We got Inhumans.
That's actually.
Oh, yeah.
That is it. No. Yeah. The Judgment Day. I thought it was the other one.
Are we announcing this? We're announcing this.
Yes.
Surprise.
Okay. Judgment Day is, it's where we're all building to. It's, if Inhumans Prime was like the kind of beginning of this like massive three-pronged Inhuman story, Judgment Day is this capstone where all the different parts kind of build to a head. It's Earth versus the progenitors. It's there'll be Black Bolt in it. There'll be Medusa in it. There'll be later today. I'm going to be sitting down for a coffee with Soldine and like thrashing like the finer details of this out. But essentially, people, this is what happens when they meet again. They've been separated, now they're coming back together. So I know people have been curious about that. I know people have been certainly curious about what the hell I'm up to. But this is where it will all come to a close. And yeah, and we've got a lovely cover there. We've got Mike Del Mondo on the art. It's going to be big. It's going to be the capstone to this Inhuman story that we've been telling. I guess, can I be incredibly arrogant? I want to try and do my kind of Hunger Dogs thing, my kind of like End of the New Gods like story. So I'm aiming very, very, very high, and hopefully you guys will join me because I'm really excited about this. I really want to make a giant bang for your buck.
Cool. Thanks. All right. Captain Marvel. Sana.
Well, we've got Michele here.
I know, Michele.
As well.
How are you?
Can you hear me?
Welcome.
Okay.
Oh, is his mic on?
Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. Oh, there we go. Okay. You guys can hear us, right?
Sana, did you give him the lyrics to the Marvel song? Since this is his first time?
I did.
Okay.
I think he's going
Did
to
you learn the
sing
Marvel?
it right now. Joe, this joke is not
I know, it never
working
works.
anymore. So, Michele, welcome to the Marvel show.
Thank you.
We're very happy to have you.
Thank you so much. I'm just a little bit shy right now. I mean, but okay.
Yeah, we like that here. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Captain Marvel, I'm actually replacing Margie because Margie unfortunately got sick. So I am Margie. Just
Hi, Margie.
imagine me as a white lady. So right now we're diving into Legacy storyline. And this is really about a storyline that we kicked off in the first issue of Captain Marvel. We've renumbered Captain Marvel to 125, as you guys know, because there have been 125 issues featuring Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers. So it's really great to be able to celebrate that. Carol realizes she needs to go back and find out what happened to her beloved Bean. And the old bounty hunter Mim returns, and what he's looking for is a mystery, and Carol, of course, gets pulled back into it, and she gets pulled into a place that is very familiar, but also very, very, very scary. Think about it as the upside-down version of the Marvel Universe. So it's a dark adventure, really stunning Michele, you're so talented. I'm so afraid you're going to be stolen off this book.
Thank you.
Just, you know how to draw Carol so well, and it's so lovely. What have you been enjoying about this whole process about Carol Danvers?
I mean, for me, Carol, it's at the same time a tough female character, but Margie can describe her feelings so well. So we have a tough character with, I mean, it's so fragile sometimes, but she doesn't want to bring out this. It's always, we have to go on, and it's what I'm trying to do with my drawings. I want to have a strong aspect, but at the same time, it's so kind and gentle with everyone. She's going to help everyone, always. So now with Legacy, she went to find Ben, because she never forget Ben.
Yeah, she's a tough lady, but she's got a softness inside of her, and that's manifested through her love of all of her side characters. So really, really great stuff. Definitely check it out. And we're actually building towards a pretty big story for Carol Danvers. So please stay tuned. We've been working very, very hard on it.
Great.
So that's it.
All right. Mr. Coates. Ta-Nehisi, got some Black Panther stuff here to talk about.
Oh, I'm
So excited somebody fell over out there. Jeez, look at that. Oh my God. Hope they're okay.
I'm so not prepared for this. I didn't even know that was the title. Claw stands supreme. But
We could change it.
I'm good with it. Even though I haven't seen it, I'm good with it. So it was funny. 'Cause I had this conversation with Tom. I don't even know if he remembers this. It's probably been about a year ago. And he said, you know, it's comic books. Eventually, you have to bring back the classic villain. And I have to confess, I was not a huge Claw fan. I thought, although that artwork is gorgeous, I thought I just didn't like his traditional portrayals. And so what's on the screen right now was an attempt to rethink Claw and to give him his own origin story. I believe that's our next issue, which I think is out. I don't have a date, but I guess it should be out in about 3 or 4 weeks. And so what we try to do is just give him a backstory, you know, give you some sort of idea of what his motivations were beyond, you know, plunder of vibranium, although that's still there. And so you'll get a little bit, you know, some flashbacks of his family and how that, you know, sort of has impacted his psychology. This is all part of a larger story that we're trying to tell. I would argue that we've been telling since issue 1. About, you know, the nature of power, about the nature of kings, about the nature of gods. And if you guys, you know, caught the recent teaser from Jason Aaron's book, that'll, you know, stretch out into the intergalactic at some point in the future. So I'm excited.
Cool. Got another slide here for you.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's happening too. Can I just say, Brian Stelfreeze's covers are just incredible. They're just, I mean, they're gorgeous. I'm trying to like buy covers from them. He won't. I gotta get to him. I don't know if Brian's in the audience, but we've been going back and forth.
I got a Brian Stelfreeze cover.
Okay. This is a collaboration between myself and Evan Narcisse and Paul Renault, who will be doing actually the interiors of it. And in this, we'll get the story of not T'Challa, but the Black Panther before T'Challa. T'Chaka, and that'll start January 2018. I'm really excited. Secretly, Evan has been a consultant, I would say an uncredited consultant on Black Panther, because I have never met a single person who knows more about T'Challa than Evan Narcisse. So there could be nobody better for this job, and I'm just really excited about it.
Cool. Thanks, man.
Oh, and there'll be a film out, I think, about that time. I heard that. I said I heard there'll be a film out about that time.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
I'm not sure though. I just heard
Tiny little movie.
Tiny little thing.
Little indie thing. All right. Mr. Coates.
Hey.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right.
All right. You are unleashed, sir. Go.
Yeah. Well, man, I don't know how much I can really say about this.
All right. Thanks. Next.
All right. Good show. Good show. So this comes out next month. It's my first issue of Doctor Strange. As you can see, Loki is now the Sorcerer Supreme. I want to assure everybody it's still very much a book about Stephen Strange. In a lot of ways, I've kind of been treating it as, in a weird, I know it sounds super boring, but it's not, as like Stephen's midlife crisis. He's having a tough go of it. When the book opens, we find Stephen in a place that we've really never seen him. He's been humbled quite a bit by these kind of new changes in his life. And in a lot of ways, it mirrors where Stephen came from, because, you know, where we found him in the past is he was top of his game. You know, the guy can be a little cocky sometimes, right? But here we find him broken and going to great lengths to find out who he really is and to get all of his cool stuff back and to kind of reclaim his throne. There's going to be some insane surprises in this book. The second issue of my run is something that if I were a betting man, I would go and pick up for sure, because there's some things that I promise none of you are going to see coming. It's insane. I still to this day I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop because I'm not convinced that Marvel actually let me do the things that I'm doing in this book. Because
we got to talk later.
I know. When I pitched on this book, when I was asked to join it, I wrote this document up, and when I pitch on a book, I kind of just tend to pitch for the moon and just put everything in there that I want, right? And I'm always expecting that things will get, you know, kind of walked back because people have plans or anything like that. And so I just go nuts. And to my utter shock, this pitch came back and they said, yeah, let's go for it. And I was excited, and then I put the phone down and I was like, oh no, I have to do all that stuff. People are, oh man, yeah. So I really hope you guys enjoy it. We have the best art team in comics. I am very fortunate to have Jordy and Walta and Mike on it. I can't wait to show you guys some of their stuff. It's amazing. Cool. In fact, don't we have?
No, we don't, because we had to cut down a couple.
No.
We had a lot of slides, man. All right, but we have one more for you, though. You know, we're still showing.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know we were doing this because I thought it was an Avengers thing, but I went ahead and just
Still
in case
showing
we
you some
did,
love, yeah.
I went ahead and wore my super cool Thanos shirt. Isn't that cool? You guys seen this? So, yeah, let's talk about Thanos. I turned into a wrestler just now.
Take
Did you
it
guys see
off.
that? You sit down. All right. So you guys, Thanos is, speaking of things that I pitched that I really thought was going to get kind of calmed down a little bit. I've actually been on Thanos longer than I've been on Strange. And when Jordan White, my fantastic editor, called me and asked if I would be interested in being on this book, I like to think that I did a pretty good job of concealing the tears. Because I might be the world's biggest Thanos fan. I love this. Oh, I haven't seen that colored. That's so dope. Oh, man. The one with the Hulk, isn't that cool, you guys? So Thanos is like my favorite character of all time. And I'm just having a phenomenal time because my best friend, Jeff Shaw, is drawing it. We introduced a lot of new stuff. That fella on the bike with the skull face, who looks like he might be from the future and out in space. That's a big deal. You guys should pay attention to that guy. And obviously from this next cover, you can tell that, our title of Thanos Wins is no joke. It's one of those things, again, that I pitched and was shocked that I have to go and do all these horrible things to all these characters I love. But really the point of this arc that I'm beginning next month is, no one's ever gotten closer to winning than Thanos, right? Like, he murdered half of everyone and then had to kind of put it back. So what I wanted to do was, let's see him win. Let's see him get everything that he's ever wanted and see how terrible that would be for him. So, yeah, it's brutal. I keep on kind of pushing the line. Every script, I try and make it like darker and more hardcore because he's the greatest space murderer who's ever lived. And so, and every single time I turn these scripts in, guys, and they're like, yeah, this is great. And so I'm like, well, let's see if I can get a little darker. And so far, so good. So yeah, I really hope that you guys will check this out. It's my favorite thing I think I've ever done in my little baby job that I've had. So yeah, thanks.
Cool. Great. So, thanks, Ed. Thanks, Ed. So this is my favorite transition from psychopathic space killer who worships or has a weird romance with death to something completely different. Sonny, you want to talk about this?
I think it's quite similar. What are you talking about?
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, same mood. Marvel Superhero Adventures. I love these books. So we're doing something called Marvel Superhero Adventures. We're doing it across Marvel. But these books are really special because it brings Spider-Man and pairs him up with some of our great Marvel characters, like Spider-Gwen, like Squirrel Girl. And it's just some fantastic chapter books that you can share with your kids who are learning to read for the first time, introducing them to the Marvel Universe, and also just sharing some great lessons with them about teamwork and about sort of who our characters are, what our characters are all about. And the cool thing is that at the end of every single book is a one-page comic strip. So it's a great introduction into comic book reading with your children. So just a really fantastic book. We also have a comic book series which is basically buy the chapter books and then go and buy the comic book series. It's actually a great transitional point for your kids. And just beautiful drawing by Dario Brizuela. That's Guru Hiru who drew that cover, which is really, really fantastic. So we're very excited about this. You'll see Marvel Superhero Adventures everywhere across Marvel, and just a great way to share your love of Marvel with the next generation. So,
I got more for you. Cool.
Oh, that's me too.
That's you too? Got another one after that, too.
You drew that?
I haven't had coffee yet.
That's fantastic.
I drew it. Thank you, guys.
Wow.
I'm so talented.
Love that cover. That's great.
You shouldn't. Why? It's true. So we've partnered with DPW over the past few years to create these fantastic prose novels. Black Widow was one of the first. We've done 2 Black Widow novels at bestseller lists. They've been on the bestseller lists. They're young adult novels, I should say. This is a middle grade novel, and this is a different angle, a different way to look at Black Panther, because this is about Black Panther during his younger years and what it was like before he actually became Black Panther, the world he lived in, the world of Wakanda, but also when he traveled to the States when he was a young boy and what that experience was like. So it's a really beautiful story. It's told by the fantastic Ronald Smith. He's just a beautiful storyteller. And really nailed a young T'Challa. So I'm very, very excited about this book. A beautiful cover that sadly I did not draw, but a talented designer did, and I'm happy to be able to work on something like this. It's very special.
One more for you.
Got another one. Ooh, look at that. So yeah, you can clap.
When you guys saw the episode yesterday?
Runaways.
Were you guys at the panel yesterday? Anybody see the episode yesterday?
Did you guys see the episode, Runaways? Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah? Cool.
Awesome.
You liked it? You're all right? If you like it, I'm good. That's
Yeah.
okay. All right.
We're good. So lots of Runaways love this year. We've got an awesome comic book series by Rainbow Rowell, and yeah, it's so good. It's awesome. So if Runaways is actually one of the books that really made me fall in love with comics in general, but Marvel comics in particular. It was a different way to look at superheroes, which I totally loved. And it just made sense for it to be a young adult novel. Like, we are bringing back, the characters that you guys love. This is based after the original comic book series by Brian K. Vaughan and Adrian Alfona, and it sort of tees up the next big challenge in their lives and them coming back together because they've been scattered to the winds. So it's just a fantastic story. Again, another beautiful artwork the DPW is churning out here. So definitely check that out. I love that there's like a different type of experience for every kind of Marvel fan, and that's really what these books are all about. So.
Did you say you can watch the first episode? Is that true?
No. We showed the first episode
Last night
yesterday.
at the Pink.
Now you won't be able to see it.
Is
for
there a
while.
raptor in it?
Huh?
Is there a raptor in it?
I don't know.
Spoiler alert.
Maybe.
Sorry.
Maybe. Maybe. All right. I think we're done shilling. So now it's time for Q&A, guys. So anybody who's got a question, please line up. If you don't have any questions, we're done here, and I get lunch early. So, all right. Ooh. Before my Marvel masters come and knock me in the head. The Marvel Insider Reward Program. So if you guys, are Marvel Insiders, you know how this works. You get points, and you get cool stuff. Then there is this code here. So if you apply this code, I guess you get extra points. Chris, did I nail it? Did I get it? Good? All right, I don't need you. Cool. Questions? Who's first?
Hey, guys.
Hey, man.
Pete from Philly. Just want to say thanks to the creators and Tom for being here. Joe, I've been coming here for 15 years to your panels, and I think it's great. A pretty timely, topical question for you. As a lifelong Marvel fan, I was a little disappointed when I saw the partnership that you guys had with Northrop Grumman, and I saw that it had been canceled. So just wanted to find out from you sort of what went behind that and sort of what lessons did you guys learn from the backlash that you guys received?
Look, I'll be honest with you. I saw it for the first time when you guys did too. So I think we put out a statement. I think there was some messaging issues. Because it really was about science and education. But yeah, so I think the steps were taken, and we're back to where we are. So, all right.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Can you hear me now? Here we go. This is a question for Mr. Ta-Nehisi Coates. I was wondering the transition from pretty serious nonfiction and journalism into comic books, how that's been, if you plan to stick around, and if there's any characters outside of the Pantherverse that have kind of caught your eye that you'd like to move on to next.
Say Thor.
So I'll start by saying Black Panther keeps me pretty busy. It's a tough nut to crack. You asked 3 questions. What was the second question?
The transition from journalism into comics.
It's funny, I get that question a lot, but for me, I started out reading comic books before I started out reading serious nonfiction. So if anything, what I had to do was transition from a comic book mind into a nonfiction mind. I think a lot of that was already in my, in the marrow, like when I went to actually make the comics. The one big thing, and everybody tells you this, but you have no idea how much is true until you try to do it. There are so many less words. So many less words. And the vast majority of words should be you talking to your artist, not you talking directly to the audience. I think if you it's funny, I can look from issue 1 to the latest issue, and you can literally see the words going like this. And there was one more, I forgot.
I said, are there any characters outside of the Black Panther sphere that have kind of caught your attention and maybe you'd like to do next?
Yeah, no, for right now, I mean, that really is it. I got to keep my eye on the prize.
Cool.
Thank you.
Can I see your helmet really quick, man? Are you better, Ray Bill?
Yes.
That's so dope. Can I see that? Yeah, let's keep going.
All right. Thanks, man. Who's next?
Hello, how you doing?
Hey.
I have a question for Ta-Nehisi, and I got a comments for Nick Spencer, and then a question also. So I don't know if it's too much.
Well, guys, the only thing I say, try to keep them short, guys, because we do have people behind you, and we're going to be running out of time.
So just for Ta-Nehisi, I just want to know if you did any any kind of consultation with the movie that was coming out soon.
Oh, that's a short one, no.
No? And then for Nick Spencer, I talked to you before at C2E2, and I just wanted to, we talked about the event before, so I like the event. I'm glad what happened.
Thanks
I
so
thought
much.
it was probably one of the better or best Captain America stories, but I know there's a lot of backlash. I've seen on the Twitters and everything, so how did
But all that matters is what you thought.
Oh, no, I liked it. It brought into what's going on in the country now, and I think many people didn't get it. They stopped at the Nazi and other stuff, and then they got mad and not really. Most people who didn't like it, honestly,
It's Twitter, man.
They didn't
It's
read
crazy.
it. I didn't read it. So I mean, for you in terms of your personal lives and Twitter, how did that affect you in terms of the backlash that you got from it?
Was there a backlash?
In all
What
seriousness,
book are we talking about?
in all seriousness, it didn't. I mean, at least in terms of telling the story, we had a plan. You know, I had a story that I wanted to tell. At the end of the day, all you can do is do the best that you can at these things. And look, the whole time I was hearing from folks like yourself who were enjoying the story and were responding to it and were getting something out of it. And that was a huge source of support for me. But ultimately, we can't let those things affect us. We can't let them dictate our stories. Again, all you can do is try to tell the best story that you can. And for me, we wanted to inspire people with a story about these heroes taking one of the worst hits that they'd ever taken, facing one of the worst betrayals that they'd ever faced, and coming back from that and defeating fascism. And, you know, I think it's got a hopeful end, and I like where it put the Marvel Universe. So I'll stand by it until I'm retired. Then I'll talk trash about it nonstop.
All right, thank you.
You know, I'm going to, for lack of stepping into this, just to dovetail a little bit on what Nick said. My first week, when I got the editor-in-chief job, Tom DeFalco, who was editor-in-chief before the person before me, came into my office, and he said, "Do you mind some unsolicited advice?" He didn't ask, but I said, "Sure, Tom. I love Tom. He's a great guy." And he said, "If you're going to take this job, you have to have a broad back, because, you know, you're going to get slings and arrows, and it comes with the dinner. If you don't have the broad back, no harm, no foul, but do yourself a favor. Leave now for your health, for your family, for everything." You know, so you know, Nick is, you know, endured a lot here. I mean, a lot of creators endure a lot, and you know, aside from some of the you know, expounding violence, which is just a terrible thing, and that's completely just uncalled for. Critiques of our work will always come, no matter, you know, what political age, time we're in. It will always happen. So, you know, it's the same advice I give everybody. You got to have a broad back to be in this business. You got to, and if you don't, for your own health, it's for your psyche. It's not a good place to be, because it comes with the dinner. You know, we put ourselves out there, and you know, and Nick, you're a bigger man. Yeah, brought it back to me, man. You know, because I know you endured a lot. So I just figured I'd, you know, get ahead of that.
Well, you did lose a lot of weight, Joe.
Yes, I did. So my back was much broader back then. Yes, sir.
My question is for you, Joe. I believe, as you probably have your fingers in the most pies, I'm a gamer mostly. Well, I'm a gamer comic book fan, but the absence of the X-Men in the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite and Lego Marvel 2. Is there a reason why there aren't any X-Men characters in those games?
You know what? I'm sure there is. I don't know. I honestly don't know the answer to that. I don't think anybody in this panel would, because those are deals that you know, I'm not privy to. You know, my job is creative, and you know, we say, okay, you know, this is here, this is here, this is here, this is where the characters appear. So I can't say. Sometimes I'm privy to that information, and I just go, I can't tell you. But I honestly don't know. Sorry,
hey, but you can play as Thanos and Doctor Strange in that game, though. So, Team Cates.
We should make a Donny Cates Lego.
Unstoppable.
Donny Cates with the
with the Beta Ray Bill helmet. Yeah, it's awesome. Unlockable. Yeah.
That's right.
Hey guys.
Yeah.
First off, Nick Spencer, the Sam Wilson Captain America series was so good. It was such a great bookend to the.
I appreciate that a lot.
The rebirth of Captain America back in the 60s, 70s, and everything. It was a great bookend to that.
Thank you.
Al Ewing, Ultimates, the 2 volumes of that, fantastic. It broadened your mind of the greater Marvel universe.
That's very kind of you to say. Thank you.
And scared the crap out of you. This is actually a question for the editors. Have you guys ever had an idea, either pitched an idea or had an idea pitched to you that you're here like, no, absolutely not, this cannot happen, and then it turning out to be like, it go through and be an incredible success? Or have you kind of pitched an idea that was, you know, you're right behind it, and then it just kind of fizzled and wasn't well received?
Well, somebody once came to me and said, you know, Joe Quesada is editor-in-chief, and I thought, oh, that can't happen.
You hear the rest of the world.
And sure enough, Eventually, it fizzled. The answer there really is, yes, kind of on both counts. I don't know that I can pull an example right off the top of my head, but there's enough of us, and all of our different editors and all of our different creators come in with different points of view and different ideas and different ways of looking at things. I remember one of the biggest arguments, and it didn't start as an argument, it just started as a conversation, was before Ed Brubaker did the story that brought Bucky back. A couple of years earlier, there was another creative team who wanted to bring Bucky back, and we were in some meeting, and Joe and I started talking about this, and as we went back and forth, like our voices just got louder and louder and louder until we were like yelling at each other and pounding on the table about how this was a thing that just didn't work, and it couldn't go the way it was.
Who was on which side?
I was definitely on the no, don't bring him back side. But eventually Ed came in. He had the story. He proved it to me. Like, he went down my checklist of here's all the stuff that here's all the questions you have. Here's my answers to all of your questions. And we came out with it, and it was a huge success. Most of you guys liked it. It provided some good fodder for films.
Thank God for Ed
so you
for
can,
bringing back Bucky.
You always, the real lesson to take away is, for all that you know things, like there are things that are facts, you don't necessarily know things. Like, things change. It's always worth examining and re-examining why you think or why you feel a certain way, why a thing can't be the thing it is, and being open to possibilities, because somebody could have that $1 million idea that comes in that completely changes the way you look at it.
I'll give you, sorry, let me just step in. Thank you, Tom. A few examples. With respect to things that we've put out that don't work out, no matter how successful you are, that's usually the majority of stuff, really, in a lot of ways, right? Because for every hit, there's 10 failures. For every person who's successful, they failed a gazillion times before they got to that success, right? But you got to keep trying. So there's that. But two great examples, because we talked about Runaways here, and I remembered Runaways was actually sitting in a drawer of the previous editor-in-chief's desk. Of piles of things that people had pitched, and I don't even know if he ever saw it. I mean, I don't know, and I started going through stuff, and I'm like, "Wow, this is kind of cool." But it caught fire. Who knows, right? It was low risk at that time, and Brian K. Vaughan wasn't Brian K. Vaughan. So there's that. And then the flip side of it, I had a young editor, like, right at the height of what we were kicking ass and really coming up and starting to take names, right? And I had an editor come up and say, "Hey, I want to pitch all this cosmic stuff." And I was like, "Oh." Now, just because I don't like something doesn't mean we shouldn't do it, right? And my problem with the cosmic stuff was that it was so crazy that I couldn't find the heart in it, right? So I said, "Hey, go. There might be an audience for it." Not the kind of stuff I like to read. And then, they hired Abnett and Lanning, who came in and, like, knocked it out of the park. And I'm like, "Now, I get it now," And then from there, Sprang Guardians, and onward we go, right? So the other part of it is, like, even if I don't see it, if someone has the passion for it and they can make sense of it, let's go, man, I think every editor here, every creator here has experienced a lot of that, on both sides of the desk, when you're pitching or just listening to the pitch. So thanks, man.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Jim Zub, thank you for Thunderbolts.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Zub!
Thanks. Well, just shortly, Thunderbolts was an absolute dream for me. It was a real great testing ground to show Tom and everyone else what I wanted to do in terms of character stuff. And I'd love to get back to those characters and keep writing great stuff in the Marvel Universe. I'm having a blast on No Surrender. You guys are going to love it.
Yep. I'm not the only guy that just says, "Zub," right?
No, everyone says Zub.
Okay.
Just yell it.
It's an awesome
I'm
name.
walking down a hallway, someone, "Zub!"
Zub! Cool. What's up, man?
Hey, just some clarifications on the upcoming books that Al's working on. That Inhumans, it was listed as #1. Is that going to be an ongoing, limited, or one-shot?
Sorry, is this Judgment Day?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a one-shot.
Gotcha. And also, you were talking about all the Avengers books being mushed into No Surrender. What does that mean the cast lineup is going to be?
It's everybody. So I think we're keeping track of something like 26 characters.
Yeah, if they're in the Avengers right now, they're in it. If they're in Uncanny Avengers right now, they're in it. If they're in U.S.Avengers, they're in it.
And there's more.
The Occupy Avengers are in it.
Yeah.
Other characters who are Avengers who are not currently in the books are in it.
Justice League is in it.
Justice League are in it.
Thank you very
We're
much.
really pulling deep. It's good. No, it is honestly so insanely ambitious. A couple people asked me, they're like, how are you guys going to get this out on time? And I'm happy to say we started working on this in February. And,
It's pretty much done.
Yeah, we're actually working on the last issue now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's going to be in on time.
That's the last script.
Last script.
He
Where
said.
were you guys when I was editor-in-chief? Jesus.
That's right. I know, it's so
Awesome.
crazy.
Yeah, slow clock.
And
That
we've
is
been,
awesome.
Yeah.
it's the biggest, craziest Avengers story we could put together. We had a big summit day at the Marvel office, and we hashed it all out. And by the end of it, had all the in-jokes we needed to make it extra special. So.
Hello, next.
Hi.
Hi.
I'll start by introducing the background noises I'll make. I have Tourette syndrome. If you haven't heard that, it's movements and noises.
I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Tourette syndrome. My noises that are offensive, I'm not meaning it to anyone.
Oh, no.
So my question is to anyone who feels most connected to the answer, I suppose. So the steps we take today may not be where we want to go in terms of being an author or an artist. But they'll take us to where we want to go eventually, which is, I assume, where you are. Where is it? What were the steps that you took initially that brought you, like, as a kind of advice for a writer or an artist today that wants to get where you are?
That's an awesome question because I know everybody's journey is different. So, but I don't want to go deus why because we'll be here all day. So who has a specific answer that they want to?
I was Sana's intern, and they just give you jobs. They just.
He was my worst intern.
Oh, that's so not true at all. I was the best. I
I
wore
was
a.
mad at him all the time.
Oh, that's so untrue.
Maybe because he was writing comics.
Ta-Nehisi,
Yeah.
I'd be curious to know about your journey. You know, to become a master at your craft.
Master of my craft.
Well, you are.
Thank you. I read a lot. I read a ton, and I think if you feel like your life will not be complete unless you get to do this thing, like you're deeply driven to. And I know that sounds a little abstract, but I think it's actually quite true that if you wake up thinking about it, go to bed thinking about it, think about it when your friends are talking and you should be thinking about something else. Think about it when your spouse is talking and you should be thinking about something. When your kids are talking, even. Are
you advising people to be a bad parent?
Well, I mean, I think there's a relationship between. I'm not always a good person. I'll say that.
Nobody is.
And I think the two might be related. What I'm trying to say, though, beyond be a bad person, is I think you just got to have it, as an all-consuming passion.
If that was your inspiration, like obviously, but what was the step that you took after you were inspired?
I'm so atypical. Because frankly, I don't think I would have the opportunity to write for Marvel if not for my work in other places. So I don't know how helpful that is.
I think you need to tell stories that are emotionally important to you. A lot of people will create stories that they think someone else wants to read. And those aren't the stories that actually connect with people. And you don't have to tell superhero stories. Just tell good stories about the things that matter to you. And when you put yourself into it, that stuff stands out so strongly. And you can put those in different genres, and you can put those in different age categories, and you can put those in different characters' lives, but they speak to something. And it's not to say that it's just it's not your political platform or your opinions. It's just things you want to explore. When I read some of Al's stuff, and his heart's on his sleeves, and these characters are really emotionally, I'm invested in their journey because they're saying something true.
I can't afford therapy. I have an actual practical step. 2000 AD, the British comic takes unsolicited submissions. 4 pages, twist ending. It can be science fiction or horror. You can send it through the post.
That's the mail.
It goes, yes, the mail. It goes into a slush pile. Everything in that slush pile gets read. Everything gets at least a sentence of feedback, even if it's just like, we don't want this because like one sentence, that's gold dust. They're here at the convention. They're up in the big booth, 2000 AD. Go see them, ask them about their submissions guidelines. That's where I started. Now I'm here.
But I want to put a cap on this real quick. What's your name? I'm sorry, what's your name?
Melissa.
Melissa, okay. Melissa, the one thing that I think hasn't been said that everybody in this dais has in common and I hope, take it to heart. You're a writer, writers write, right? There's no excuse for not writing every day if it never gets seen. Everybody got here through hard work. You have to have the tenacity. You have to have the broad back, right? Because guarantee you, there's people now and will always be telling you you suck, right? So you have to have the belief in yourself. But there's no substitute for putting the work in. You just have to keep at it and keep at it. I did an interview about 6 months ago where somebody asked me a question I'd never been asked before. It was very, very simple. What's your hobby? And I thought about it. I'm like, I do my hobby. And then I thought back to Stan Lee, right? And like Stan's 93 now, Tom, right?
Yeah, 94.
Right? 94. And people are saying, why is he still working? Why is he still working? I'm like, wow, I don't think I would, even if I wasn't employed, which could be any minute now, I don't think I would ever stop doing what I do because it's my hobby. So if you love writing that much, and I sense you do because that's why you're asking that question, write every day. If you want to be a professional athlete, pick any sport. My daughter's a figure skater. She skates hours and hours every day, jumping. And by the way, the majority of the time, she's falling to land that one jump. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times, hitting her body, hitting the ice, absorbing those blows to nail that one jump in practice or in competition. That's what you have to strive for. That's what anybody here who wants to be professional should strive for, because that's what every single one of these people did in this days. They jumped and fell until they finally landed it. And while Ta-Nehisi may only talk about his comic stuff, to get to the point of being the writer he is, was a journey. And we all have it, and it's all different. So you guys start yours, okay? Cool, thanks.
It's the same, I think. It's the same for the artist.
Yes,
it's the
exactly.
same thing. I stalked this company for 6 years. I mean, really, 6 years.
And Michele, for
stalking, always.
For every drawing you do, for every successful drawing you do, how many are in the garbage can?
A lot.
A
lot.
Nobody gets to see that.
And I never spend one day without drawing. Yep. Never. Even on a phone call, I'm drawing.
Yep.
Always. So it's
your hobby.
It's the point, the tenacity, all there.
Thank you. Cool. Hey there.
So I'm a Puck fan.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Get out. The tallest Puck ever.
What are the chances of Puck getting maybe a spin-off book from Captain Marvel, or maybe putting him in the movie?
We're actually announcing an ongoing by me and Alex Ross.
Puck-a-muck?
What the Puck?
What the Puck?
Hey,
Okay.
I love Puck. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but
I gotta call Alex.
He's in Captain Marvel and he's having a good time. I love.
You guys have my Alpha Flight pitch. What the hell?
Keep him alive.
You guys are all weird, dude.
I love Puck too.
All right, we've got a few more minutes, so really quick.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I'm a huge Thanos fan.
Oh, are you?
I am.
I like your shirt.
Thank you. I like yours too. And I just wondered, do you write him as having a mental illness, or do you see the way he sees death as like a real person or a
Perfectly stable, perfectly healthy, perfectly balanced. It's a weird thing, right? Because Jason Aaron's run, or his series that he did. Right, yes, do that a lot. It's amazing. It leaves you on this incredibly chilling moment where, like, is that real, or has he been murdering all these people for no good reason, right? This is going to sound weird. At least the first arc of mine doesn't dwell on death as much as, which is such a metal phrase I just said, right? But that's not something that I'm. Gosh, how do I say this without? I'm dancing for you right now. That's something we're going to deal with, absolutely. We're going to get to the bottom of that kind of stuff. But I write him, I weirdly relate to that cat in like a way that I'm not okay with. It's really the first arc at least is more about him trying to reach the top of the mountain and finding out that when he gets there, there's just more mountain, if that makes any sense, because there's always people to kill. It's really it's his hero's journey is that there's not enough hours in the day to murder, if that makes any sense.
Is that on your business card? There's always more people to kill.
Yeah. I would urge you to check it out because obviously I can't spoil stuff, but that's something that's on my mind for sure.
Okay, guys, we're going to go over. So three last questions. Thank you. Thank you.
So you talked a little bit about, fan reactions and having to have a thick skin to that sort of thing, and that you're always going to have, hate or anger directed at you for any choice that you make for any character. But I also think that, I think that's obviously going to be true in comics, especially mainstream comics as an art form is kind of growing into its own and becoming more reflective of the world that we actually live in right now, which I think is a good thing. But there are definitely going to be some missteps along the way. Not that any of you have ever made any of them, but
oh no, never.
Like, let's say
Not
if
us.
DC accidentally had like an offensive like trans character that was like deceptive or something, like hypothetically in one of their comics and fans reacted in a way to something, a decision that was made that they actually felt was offensive to them or misrepresented them personally. Someone who was like very excited to see themselves in a book and then find themselves misrepresented. Like I could be described with no adjectives, but but I feel like there are cases in which people slip up and the fan reaction, certain fans are probably right. And when you have, nonstop anger directed at any good decision you make, how do you isolate those voices that are actually providing you with valuable feedback?
I think inherently, that's a great question, man. Awesome
Thank
question.
you.
But I can describe you as very talkative because
thank
I'm
you.
right there. So I think you inherently know when you make the misstep, right? The one thing I will disagree with you is that, at least from the Marvel standpoint, we've always been reflecting the world outside our window, right? It's as time rolls, right? We progress with those times. There have been times where we've done it more, times where we've done it less. You will always hear people say we're not doing it fast enough, but a lot of this is also a matter of just like telling the right story. Because I do think sometimes, if something is rushed and it's not done correctly, then maybe you run into some of those arguments. I've seen that happen since the dawn of like the modern superhero comic book. So it's not something unusual. And I know for younger fans like yourself, it feels like this is something that's something that's happening now. But I could show you letters pages from years ago that when I was a fan, where creators were going through this exact same thing and trying to push the line forward and just reflect what the world is reflecting. Because the Marvel Universe does take place in the real world. It's not Metropolis, it's not Gotham, it's the real world. So in a lot of ways, it's also, it's always a bit more difficult for us, because we have to make sure that we're doing it in the proper way so that we don't get that reaction. But the short answer is, when you get a critique, and I know even as an artist or a writer, if someone gives me a critique and I'm like, that has the ring of truth. The reason it has the ring of truth is because inherently, I kind of know it, kind of know I didn't draw that properly. I didn't write that dialogue just as snappy as it should have been, or that plot was a little laggish. So we know, and a lot of times that we have to filter through a lot of this stuff because if we did constantly listen to the internet, there would be books we would be publishing that wouldn't be selling anything at all, right? Because sometimes those lower selling books get the biggest outcry. And I get it, fans want to keep those alive. But we also run a business, so we do what we can. Thank you, man. It's a great question.
Just to quickly add on to this, it's an interesting thing because I think it's intention. I think out of the people on this panel, I have the shortest distance from being a fan to being a creator. It was like a year and a half ago when I was just a fan and one of those people raging. And increasingly, I think, please don't take this the wrong way, but that the artist, the creator, probably should cultivate a very, very small group of critics. No more than one can count on two hands, and probably shouldn't listen to anybody else. That doesn't make the criticism wrong, right? But I think oftentimes the artist is actually responding to the criticism that they made when they were a fan. So it's almost like a time lag, because the artist has to have a kind of confidence in what they're doing. They can't be second guessing every script, every little word. Did I do this? Did I do that? The artist really just has to go, and then give people room to, make their judgments, make their critiques, not object to that, not be arrogant about that, but still be confident in the story that they came to tell.
Yeah.
Thanks for the answer.
It's true. Great point. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you, everyone on the panel, for creating characters that are a lot more representative of the world outside our window, as you said. I know that there was a lot of backlash from some readers in regards to your meat and potatoes characters being pushed to the wayside or seemingly being pushed to the wayside. So I was a little bit nervous when Legacy was announced about what was going to happen, but it looks like you are celebrating both the old and the new, and I love that. Absolutely. But so many of those representative characters, the major complaint I heard from people who were just angry about stuff was that they were like, well, why can't you guys just make new characters of color or representative or anything like that and not take away from my whatever? And I was just like, well, I don't really see the problem because Legacy is a big thing. But I mean, it does raise a question. You mentioned that Runaways was like in a slush pile that you read through, and you know, outside of Runaways and maybe Mosaic, I don't really know a whole lot of like wholly new characters that got books right off the bat.
Right, but no, actually there've been quite a lot in from when I started in 2000 to today. What people forget is that the launching a character, brand new, just out of thin air character, and having it become a hit is not the norm. It very rarely happens, you know? Now, when the Marvel Universe launched, they were all new characters. So it was either gonna fly or it wasn't gonna fly, right? But since then, the audience has become, you know, accustomed to those great characters. Spider-Man, the X-Men, you know the list, I don't have to tell you. So now to break into that, it's kind of like an unknown artist trying to break into comic books, right? It's you know, you have to find that one artist who maybe has never done any professional work and suddenly bring them in and have them be a huge splash. It's a real rarity. So when it happens, it happens. Runaways just happened to tap into something. And by the way, Runaways didn't sell great. It sold just enough to get by, but it caught a hold of something, right? Ms. Marvel, another example of that. But there are very few characters that break through. Sometimes it takes an incubation period too. Yeah. Sometimes you could have a character that's laying dormant and suddenly the time strikes. I think Deadpool's a perfect example, right? Deadpool was a book, you know, it came out, I mean, the heyday of everything selling 1 million copies, but then the book was just sort of a simmer, you know, and then Joe Kelly had the humor angle, but it still simmered, and then something happened in the zeitgeist where that kind of book was needed, and boom, there it is, and boom, you have a movie. We can't predict that. All we could do is just put these characters out there, right? So that's why. I do think, go back into some of these books and see some of the things that we've launched. And you'll go, oh, yeah, there have been other characters that have come through here. Sometimes they catch fire, sometimes they don't. That we can't predict. And that you know, sure, part of that is on us. You know, maybe we're not creating the best book sometimes. Maybe we miss fire, but that's part of it. For every success, there's more than 10 failures. So.
And I just want to say real quick, I think with Ms. Marvel in particular, you know, I don't want to underestimate the amount of support and attention Kamala got because she had the name Marvel in her code name. And the fact that she took on a legacy mantle, we thought about that. We could have given her another name. We had some really terrible ideas. But this one made sense for us, and that really gave us a lot more exposure. And I think the next challenge is, yes, how do we make sure they continue to have their own identity outside of the history of whatever these names mean? And that's, you know, and that's going to be an interesting journey to try to, for us to have and try to figure out the next phase for these younger heroes.
I think it was handled really well in the Generations issue, actually.
Great,
like,
yes.
You know, having that, you know, kind of bringing the missions together, so to speak.
Yeah, but keeping them distinct, that's what we really need to do now.
And look, ultimately, I think Bucky, Winter Soldier, benefited from the fact that he became Cap for a while. You know, it really elevated that character to the point where I'll never forget. It was a San Diego con. I think we were sitting in a room that was like 4,000 people, and I asked for a show of hands, like who wants to see Steve Rogers back, and it was literally a 50-50 split. Crazy, crazy. You know, so you just never know. So thanks, man.
Thanks.
Last question.
Hey. You talked a little bit about the pitch process already. I believe it was Donnie who mentioned pitching to the moon. Mm-hmm. I'm curious. I'm sure you can't talk about a lot of them because maybe you've got fingers crossed.
I will tell you all of them.
You got your fingers crossed that some of them might still happen.
Yeah.
Are there any things that you were told will never happen that you could tell us about that you were told you'd be ashamed of for even thinking of?
I just think it's ridiculous that I couldn't put Batman in my Doctor Strange run. Honestly, people love Batman. It would have really worked, Joe.
Sorry.
In all seriousness,
Talk to
we
the
are.
chief.
In all seriousness, we are very lucky in that the editorial here rarely say that an idea is too crazy.
Yeah.
That generally speaking, one of the things that I really like about working here is I can email Tom at 3 in the morning and say, "What if Captain America was the Hydra agent?" And like that conversation doesn't get shut down right there. Although I know some people might have liked for it to have been. No idea is too out there. That and a lot of times, when we're in retreats or things like that, the craziest ideas are the ones that we spend the most time on, that we get really excited about, and that is definitely one of the best things about Marvel.
Thank you, guys.